I had a friend tell me one day, we're talking, and he goes, you know what? For the things you've done, you should have calluses on your knees. And I've never forgot that. So I do pray on my knees. So I try to give the big guy some honor and respect. Lay in bed, sit on the shitter and pray. No, you gotta give him some respect. So that's what I do. I grew up in East LA. Grew up in East LA in the hood, in near Wyvenwood, 8th and Soto. Right there, that was a Body and Huevo, it was called. And the other gang was White Fence. There's still huge Mexican gangs, but I was from a gang called the Lomas, the Hills. That's where we're from. When we were kids, we created the Lomas Dukes. We were the Dukes. We even had jackets made. The Dukes from South San Gabriel. Caused all kinds of havoc with the veteranos there. They were called them veteranos. They're like old gangsters. And yeah, that shit I forgot about until right now. You know, when eventually the one of them, Santos, he was the guy that they made the movie Blood In, Blood Out. He was one of the guys that started the Mexican Mafia back in the day, okay? That was Santos. Another guy was Jerry Dunlop. He was a white guy. Created a gang. He took some of the boys from the Lomas, from the Dukes, joined the Santanas, they were called. And they were all karate boys, man. They were like really into karate, jiu-jitsu, kung fu. That was the time of Bruce Lee. So people were really into it, you know, the movies and stuff. And they were Jerry, he ended up doing some moved to Hawaii, got hired by the mobsters out there. I heard he ended up in the pineapple fields. So that was the end of Jerry. Yeah.
And how long were you in that gang?
Oh, I was in there for a while until my, one of my girlfriends turned me to God and stuff. Got baptized at the Cove called Pirate Cove. It was the 70s. It was the Jesus Revolution. Okay, and a lot of the boys, one of the reasons why I saw she took me, we were playing this rival gang football. That's when things were civil back then. We'd play another gang, the boys, and we had a football game. And she showed up at the football game and tried to, to get us boys to come to church with her. So I go to church, and then there's this guy at the pulpit just crying his ass off. He's all tatted. He looked like the most badass dude I've ever seen. And he's on his knees crying to God to forgive him. Okay? And I was like, oh my God, this guy, if he can pray to this God and ask him with tears in his eyes, the most baddest guy I've ever seen, when I was like, oh my God, this guy could get up and kick all our asses, And that inspired me, and I gave myself to the Lord that day, and then got baptized and everything like that. But then, what you call backslide into other things. Eventually, the guy catches you, the devil and his temptations and shit. Yeah.
You still believe to this day?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you, that's how I got my tooth out. I was downtown with a couple of friends of mine, and I told this motherfucker, don't park here. I know this neighborhood. He goes, no, it's cool. It's changed. I said, no, it's not. They're looking at that apartment up there. They're going to see you. You have a brand new Beamer, okay? You're a white boy, in a brown neighborhood, okay? And I said, I'm not going to come back. You're going to pick up the car, okay? And come back and pick us up. And this is after coming from Al's Bar in downtown LA. And so he goes to the car. We're going to the car. And this pimp with two girls start hassling, us. Next thing I know, I'm knocking out the pimp, his girlfriend, two girls, they were like pulling my hair and stuff like that. And I jiu-jitsu style, threw them over, another one over. And then we're running to the car because there was a shitload of them. It was like a gang downtown. And the next thing I know, there's like 7 guys by the car trying to take the keys away from homeboy that my friend invited me there, and I was at another place on Abbott, in Venice. And anyways, I should have stayed there. But bottom, what happened was after fighting so many guys and stuff through training, which I'll tell you, and if it wasn't for that, I probably would be dead. And if it wasn't for the big guy, because this big guy came along, he had brass knuckles. And I was already worn out. He was a big guy. He was like about Conrad. Yeah, he was big. And then he hits me. And I go back. Boom, boom. And then he hits me again. Gets me in my teeth. The guy, and the people are like, oh, you knocked out his teeth and stuff, And I'm like, I go, shit. Like that, I'm pissed. So my dad told me, if a big guy and you're surrounded by another bunch of guys, grab the biggest guy. Okay, and all these guys are they're gonna hit the biggest object. They're not gonna hit you. They'll be hitting you and stuff. And sure enough, they were hitting him. And while I had him, I was like kneeing him in the ribs, and I could hear his ribs breaking because I knew I was in a life or death situation. So I broke like 3 of his ribs at least. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground. I'm on the ground, and I'm getting the shit kicked out of me. I've already had it. I'm torn, So 3 guys are kicking the shit out of me. I have my head like this, bent down, and I start praying because it was like the end. I knew it was the end. And the guy goes, your God isn't here. He don't hear you. We're going to kill you. And as he said that, beam of lights come. My friend in their car, almost running them over. They open up the door, they grab me and throw me into the car, and we sped off. That's how God is. When you believe, truly believe. And he taught me a lesson that day, And I've kicked those people to the curb. You got to kick people to the curb because shit like that will happen. And you have that intuition, especially when you come from the hood. And I should have took that intuition. You know what I should have did? I go back on it and I said, I should have just got a yellow fucking cab and went back home in a yellow cab. Back then they didn't have, Uber cab. I could have took an Uber cab back, but no, So, yeah, that's, now back to where the martial arts and street fighting came from. Well, that's another story. My stepdad, evil bastard, was a DI, and that's called a drill instructor. Okay, he's the guy that yells at you, look at here, stupid, answer me, stand up straight. So we used to travel around, and we'd go to dojos. I was only like 5 years old. We'd go to dojos, and he would go up to the sensei and tell him, I want my sons to get up there and fight your best at their age. And he goes, no, you got to go. He goes, no. You got to take my sons out there. He was a red belt, 3rd degree red belt. That's way above a black. And breaking bricks, breaking everything, with his hands. He was a gnarly dude, a killer. That's another story. But anyways, he used to take us to these dojos after, when you get your ass kicked a lot, you start learning how not to get your ass kicked, okay? Because you need a good ass kicking to learn. It's like mistakes, okay? You learn from your mistakes, you learn from your ass kicking, okay? I won't do that again. Yeah. And so I learned a lot of, and then I went and studied a lot, my brother and stuff, and got into a lot of fights. I used to get into almost a fight a week, a couple of fights a month at least, until I got older. Even until I got older, I even got into it. But, Ramone is into that. Back to the gang banging and stuff. I had to go to a school for boys. Okay, and then after the school for boys, I wanted to go back near my house, so they put us in an experimental detention center. I mean, not the school, where we'd get bussed in, and there was nothing but cows around. Seriously, it was like fenced up. There was guards, the whole bit. Okay, and so after that, doing time there when I was a kid, then the counselor goes, so what do you want to do for a living? What are you going to do? Because there was all these counselors trying to get you out of this shit. And I go, well, I don't know. What do you got? He goes, well, here's this electrician. You could make this amount of money with electrician and stuff and doing this and that. So I did a couple of classes on electrician. I said, dude, I'm not an electrician. He goes, well, here, I got cosmetology. Okay. He goes, well, I go, well, cosmetology, I'm not into rocks. He goes, no, it's not about rocks. Okay. It's about, it's the study of beauty. And I say, what? Fuck you. I'm no faggot. I said, I got up and he said, hey, settle down. Okay. Cause I was like on the desk, like saying, you calling me a fag basically? No, Rube, just settle down. So he gives me a slip. He goes, go down to the school. And so I went down to the school. There was an Asian guy, Mr. Kim, and he was like a Vietnam vet, another badass dude. He was all into karate and stuff like that, and he took me under his wing and taught me how to cut hair. And one day he goes, Rube, I'm going to show you what you can have. And he comes up with in his Porsche and pops out this girl with blonde hair, beautiful model. Goes, see, Reuben, this is what you can have. I slipped there. And so, yeah, that's how I got into hair. And I started working in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, actually. And then I moved over to Beverly Hills. Did a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. In between then, I was taking care of some kingpins and to survive, other things besides doing hair, which a lot of them do that, like Giuseppe Franco in Beverly Hills. He's Mickey Rourke's friend. They both moved out from New York to Hollywood to make it big. He actually owns part. I think he still owns part of Giuseppe Franco's salon there. That's on what's the name of it? It's right one street over from Rodeo, but it's been there for years. Big cokehead. I don't know if he still is, but he was back in the day. My dad, he was a huge alcoholic, a Vietnam vet. I didn't get his after he died because I found him twice I found him a few times. Well, twice was on Skid Row. Okay, my cousin said, I saw your uncle and he was on Skid Row. He's not living anywhere. He doesn't have anything. So I got him out of there. I dusted him off, got him an apartment, went through the Army to pay for the apartment and stuff like that. And then years down the road, one of my cousins started taking advantage of him and moved into the apartment and started taking his money and stuff, okay? Because my dad was an alcoholic. And eventually, about another 10 years later, he's back on Skid Row. And then they tell me, okay, so I pick him up again and got him at this place in Bel Air. Got him this really nice place. And he goes, I don't like this place, Ramone. I don't like it. He goes, why? He goes, I can't get any tacos and I have to go walk like ways for a beer. I go, what? You don't like, because it was in the Jewish desert. I go, you don't like cream cheese and lox? Lox and cream cheese? I was like, no, there was a Bel Air Manor. I was like, dude, this is a nice fancy place. Well, they have the big screen TV. Look at all those people. No, they're all white. So I go, okay. So I find him another place. And it was this scandal, like really bad. Okay, they were selling crack in the park, and there was a liquor store on the corner. There was a taco stand on the other one. He said, it was Hawthorne. I think it was Hawthorne. And he said, okay, yeah, I really like this place. And that's where he damn died. But he was a smoker. He looked like before he died, looked like the guy from the Marlboro commercial.
Wow.
That bad. He was really bad. After that, I got a psychological report because they didn't give you psychological reports in the Army, which I think they should really do. I really think that all members they should all be evaluated, when they come back by some family member at least, because I didn't find out that he tried to commit suicide 3 times, that he witnessed his best buddy getting killed. He had to go up. He was a lineman, so he had to climb up, get his buddy off of the line, dead. He was hanging there, and he was like one of those guys that carry the little receivers on their back with the little antenna and stuff. Communications are the first ones to go because they want to cut your communication. They're the biggest target on their back is communication, and the second is the commanding officer. But cut off all communications first. Yeah, I've never been in the armed forces, but I know a lot about it because of my father, the bat.
How about your mother?
My mom?
You grew up with her?
Yeah, that's who I lived with, my mom. My mom was a very loving person. Kind of looked aside about everything while I was getting the shit kicked out of me by bat, My brother says, I know why you have fat lips. Big lips is because being punched in the face by John so many times. He was like, yeah, I used to see you get whooped. He used to do the strap. We used to have to hold our hands out like this while he read the newspaper. You have to dig a hole and then bury it back, put it back, like regular, like the Army, like training. He did all that. So all that abuse and stuff like that. And thank God I only had girls, because, I think if I had a boy, I probably would have abused him because of what I gone through. I've read so much about that happening. So I took care of my girls, my daughters. Yeah, and that's another story.
Are you still in touch with all your kids?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All of them. I always do. It's important for a dad to be part of their family. My whole wall is full of all of my kids and grandkids. And
how is it having grandkids that are boys? Is it a different feeling?
Yep. Back then we had parties where the parties back then are not the parties the way they have now. You know, they could probably do everything through social media, but what we did, we would put flyers on telephone poles from like 3-4 cities wide, thousands of flyers, okay? And my parties would be like ripping. There would be like hundreds. I would even, pretty close sometimes, I think it was almost thousands, because the street was so packed with cars that cops would come, you know, and they would shut us down. One time, I was like, oh my God, I had to call the cops on my own party to shut it down. Because there was people on the roof, people in the trees. My door was missing, front door, because I locked people out. My front door was missing. Well, we discovered it down the street. Okay. Bands playing. Yep. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's perfect. Makes it real. I mean, you know, I've been up, I've been down. I think this is my third go around. I've reached the heights, written in Los Angeles Times, calendar section, been on the Fox Entertainment, been in a lot of shit, okay? And then own my own hair salons. Tell you a little story, okay? Which is actually I'm writing a book, and these are true stories. So one of my clients tells me, I want you to do my girlfriend's hair for her wedding. So I go, yeah, I could do her hair. So back then, I used to ride a motorcycle, and I had leather pants. I never wore underwear. Never. I let it show, you know. And I had long hair. I was like, you know, young. And anyways, I'm doing her hair. And the next thing you know, after I'm done, she's like all over me. All over me. This bride is all over me. And then the next thing you know, we're doing it. Okay, so I'm doing the bride on her wedding day. Okay, this is the last time I'm going to have sex with another guy, and I didn't even know this girl from hiding her hair. Okay, and she's all over me, and we're doing the deed. And then after that, she goes, I said, you better get dressed. So she gets dressed in her wedding suit, in her wedding dress. And all the bridesmaids were out at the time, okay? They were shopping, okay? Well, we're doing the hair. And so she gets all dressed in her little outfit, and I'm sitting out there in the lazy boy. Next thing I know, she attacks me on the lazy boy and starts riding me. Starts riding me hard. The door opens up. It's all the bridesmaids. And my client goes, "You're fucking my hairdresser," at the top of her lungs. She's like, "What?" And the bride goes, "Shut the fucking door." And then she finished herself, and then I went out there with the walk of shame. All the bridesmaids are looking at me, and I'm hopped on my motorcycle, and I got the hell out of there.
Did the groom-to-be ever find out?
What?
Did the groom-to-be ever?
I don't know about that. Oh God, I was doing coke and banging my clients in the restroom. Yeah. I've had back then, it was just the start of the augmentations, okay? I had clients that would go out and get their augmentations and go, can you feel my boobs and see if they're, my breasts, and see if they're, do they feel real? I want my husband to be satisfied. He goes, "Well, has he touched them yet?" No, you're going to be the first one. It's like, what? No, because I want to make sure that they're right. And I trust you. Yeah, they feel good. They feel real, actually. They look real, too. I was like, no, I had like some weird encounters like that. No, that would be banging my clients in there, and the owner would be going, bam, 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 bam. Hey, we can hear you out here. We can hear you. He was gay. And he was my Dennis. He was an army guy. Okay, he was big and burly, what you call a bear. Okay. I go, Dennis. He goes, how did you become gay? I mean, you're in the army. It's a badass thing. And he says, well, that's where all the boys are at. He goes, that's like you being a hairdresser. He says, that's where all the girls are at. Because he knew I was straight. And he was like, oh, good.
Go with the happy ending.
Oh, man, yeah. He would come to my parties. He was like, yeah. And there was always banging on the door. We were doing blow in there. And I was either getting a blow job or banging my clients, or even new clients that would never come back to me after. When we were growing up, people were running around naked. It was called streaking. Okay? They would streak in the middle of baseball games, football games, parades, malls. Oh, yeah, there used to be pregnant women in high heels smoking cigarettes.
What year was this?
This was in the 70s. Okay. 70s, and the 80s started going out of that, where you couldn't do all that, couldn't. Eventually they had like smoking sections, okay, where you would go there, but you know what? You could still smell the fucking smoke. Okay, there's a smoking section, it's like, you just, here's the smoking section and there's the regular section. You think that smoke isn't going to go over there to the regular section? It's like ridiculous, okay? So they stopped all smoking in restaurants. California started it first. We used to be able to toilet paper people's houses without getting shot, go do dog ditch, and or we'd like shit in the front of a bag, would get a dog shit, and then would light it on fire. And then they would knock on the door, and they would come out and smash on it, and shit would be all over their feet. These were pranks. Pranks.
Do you think times were better back then than they are now?
Oh, yeah. We're out in the street. We used to go, riding their bikes, doing wheelie contests. Yeah, we used to do a lot of things in the street. Roller skate, skateboarding. Back then they had rock wheels, and then they went up to the fiberglass wheels and stuff, and then everything started changing, in the 70s, and then the 80s came along. They emptied all the pools, and we started skating all the pools. That's how that came along. Was all the skate parks have all these bowls now and stuff like that. That's comes from the 80s. Vocabulary, how I started my vocabulary was I started bussing tables and going to the hair, and then bussing tables at night at a Italian restaurant called DiCenzo's. Johnny, they were like mob people. Okay, it was like, I knew it was undercover because he got his ass kicked in the office once. I was like, so and there was two professors that worked there. They're from Cal Polytech. One of them created the machine where they use the cow shit and changes it into methane. And he put that together. I saw the maps and everything. The other one was like a linguistics guy. And so the first word, the linguistic guy, that's who I was bussing. I was bussing all these tables. He said, I'm going to teach you and get rid of that essay language, okay? We're going to change you. And he says, I'm going to give you one word a day. So the first word was erroneous. So through the whole day, erroneous. That's erroneous. And then when we're splitting up the tips at the end of the night, he goes, what does erroneous mean? I said, wrong. He says, correct. Now, are you going to go to your domicile? Like, what the hell, you know? I had to come the next day and say, oh, my house. And that kept building my vocabulary. And back then, there was a lot of racist shit going on. Okay? I had people say, you know, wow, you don't talk like a Mexican. You know, you don't talk like, what does that mean? I didn't say anything. I said, well, thank you. You know, what else could I say? I mean, who am I supposed to talk with, you know? Like, yeah, so.
Did you ever finish high school? Or
oh, yeah.
That was cause.
No, yeah. I watched them from the field called, you know, Ramone de la Cruz. Ramone de la Cruz. And I'm sitting in the audience just because I didn't have my parents didn't buy me a gown. I was the black sheep. You know, I was a runaway, and I was a bad guy, bad kid. I remember I had nowhere to go that day. I got kicked out of a housing unit. I was staying there with candles and stuff. They still had running water. And so I was staying there for a while and going to school. Parents didn't want me around. You know, after somebody called up and said, hey, do you got 2 pounds? Who's this? That's my mom answers the phone and asks my mom if I had a couple pounds, which I did. And they were in the trash. I got them in the trash, and then I was kicked out. So that was one of the times. Like, what the fuck do you call up my mom? You know, call up my house, basically, you know, and ask for a couple pounds. And they searched my room and got kicked out at, 16 or something like that.
Your parents kicked you out?
Oh, yeah. They kicked me out. Then I went and lived with my aunt for a long time in East LA. But that was in South San Gabriel with the Dukes. That's why, because I was a cholo, bad boy. Didn't care about anything. Almost got shot by a cop once. I was walking down the street, and this guy from a Volkswagen almost runs me off the road, and I flip him off. He drives back, pulls out a gun, and I'm like, this. And I remember the license plate number. And back then, you didn't know who it was, and I went around, and I found it, the bug. It was a fucking cop. We turned him in, and then we could have sued him, but back then there was nothing like that, you know. So they came over. The cop said he was sorry with his lieutenant that he did that, and everything was cool. Oh yeah, I'd been beat up in the back of cars and left up in the mountains of South San Gabriel back in the day. That's what they used to do. They used to just beat us up and dump us off. LAPD, worst people in the world. I got arrested for GTA in Hollywood, and the guy kicked the shit out of me. Well, a secretary was sitting there, and she's like, the guy slamming me up against the wall, and I'm only like 16 years old. They let me off on that. I always got lucky. I always ended up at the ranch, which is like, you're picking potatoes and stuff like that. Out there, you're not inside the prison walls. Because I've been there, but never the big house. Thank God. Knock on some wood if there was wood anywhere. Yeah, that's a little twist of my freaky life, but there's a lot more shit that's
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.